What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Brand+Shred. I am so excited. This is kind of my toned down version of me. So many people are used to my live show going crazy, but Brand+Shred is a little more focused on building your brand. And we couldn't have a more perfect guest, in my opinion, because not only are Alec Hanson and I really good friends, but he's one of those people who within the management, within the executive space, has literally, he understands that a brand is so much more important than just like, oh, I'm out there, I'm putting myself out there, I'm putting content out there. Brand is so much more meaningful than that. And that's what this podcast is all about, is helping all of you who are just starting. Maybe you're midway through your journey. Maybe you're at a roadblock in your journey. Maybe you've plateaued in your journey. What these discussions are all about is to help you push through wherever you're at and continue to get better. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this, like I said, he needs no introduction, but Alec Hanson is one of those, like I said, that he's truly brilliant with content, but also you were telling me, for those who don't know this about you, you're actually you run an entire division of loanDepot. You run an area, and you guys are producing at top level. So tell us, for those who don't know Alec Hanson, tell us about Alec Hanson.
Oh, dude, I'm a street loan officer who decided to make a career out of the industry. That's the deal.
Legit, dude.
That's the deal, dude. 23-year-old Alec driving around in a Honda Civic with a shitty suit, going to meet realtors, going to open houses, going to broker previews, going to networking events that I hate because I'm just not. My personality isn't. I'm introverted. I'm not social by nature.
Yeah.
And just earning it on the street from that. That was effectively 18 years ago to now. So I've become a career guy. And this is the best industry, most hidden special gem in the world. So,
I want to dive more into that here in a second too. Like this industry, especially you and I both kind of devoted our lives to that. I don't think either of us planned, like you said, you were a young kid driving around in his Honda. I was a young kid trying to figure it out as well, got dragged into it. I'm sure, your start was probably as interesting as mine was. And now we are where we are. And it's humbling to say both of us have had phenomenal careers, and we're still young. I still look at where you and I have to go in this industry, and the only place we have to go, we're putting in the hard work now. We're the ones busting our asses day in and day out to continue to improve, to continue to help the people around us improve. 100%. So I want to talk about that. Why, when you started building a brand, how long ago do you kind of have an idea of when did you actually start saying, hey, you know what? I'm seeing guys like both you and I love guys like Gary Vaynerchuk. We see some guys like that we follow. We just eat that shit up. But was there a time where you're like, you know what? I got to start doing this. I got to start creating a brand. I got to start putting myself out there.
Yeah. So to frame everything up, my first year originating at 85 million, my best year originating was about 185 million. And now I'm the title is, SVP divisional manager, but I'm over about 9 states, and we're going to hit 8 billion this year.
Holy cow. Dude.
And so, but going back to kind of the brand journey, I had an epiphany moment, an aha moment. I think you've had a very similar one where I wasn't correlating the reality that the effort that I used to do to build my brand, my reputation with realtors, to show up all the time, to be in the street, to be at the mixers, open houses, that effort wasn't being translated into digital, which is this new space to do this exact same thing. A very, very powerful space that has no geographical limitations, no barriers, no borders, and you can scale it. So a face-to-face meeting I'd have with a realtor, I could now have 1,000 in one video. And so I saw this huge need, and then the loan officers that I'm leading, I was like, you got to get on video, you got to do social. And then I turned around and I was like, I was a ghost. I mean, I was on social, I had Facebook, but I was invisible. You would never know professionally what I stood for. You would never know my leadership style. You would never know what I do if you went to Facebook, Instagram. You'd see me posting funny, self-deprecating, images of cat memes. So it was this, oh no, this is the game now. This is the game now. Is literally brand establishment, brand building, human connection at scale. That's the whole thing. And so I was like, well, then I got to figure it out. And I did that stupid 100 videos in 100 days to actually get myself into the space. And then that launched into this whole thing.
Dude, it's so funny because you and I having similar backgrounds, that story is so different from me because I started doing video. Like my partner, dude, I just started doing video like, well, even before that, even before people knew, like when I started doing like my Facebook lives, I started working on Facebook, and my partner, we were growing one of the top brokerages here in Utah. And, a lot of people don't know, like I started as a mortgage professional. I'm still a licensed LO. Like I don't originate anymore, but I started creating videos around the things that I really enjoyed. I was mountain biking, I was fishing, and my partner literally is like, dude, you're wasting time on social media. He's like, I can't believe. And dude, he even told me too, he's like, you can't teach this to our LOs. And I'm like, dude, yeah. I was like, why wouldn't I teach? Like, I'm leading by example, dude. And he's like, no way, dude, no. And I'm like, dude, why not? He's like, nope, we're going to continue to call Loan Brights. We're going to buy Loan Sister. Like, we're going to buy all these leads. And he was a lead guy through and through. And he's like, it's a waste of time to have people go focus on this. And of course, people know that him and we separated. That was one of the big factors. Is like, dude, this is the future. People, originators growing a brand. Because here's the thing. For all of you thinking about this, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. You say it, I say it. Like that's
tell
literally
loan
what a
officers
brand
in a
is.
meeting. I'll go, check this out, Josh. Check this out. Name a mortgage company. I'll tell loan officers we're sitting in a meeting and I'll go,
loanDepot.
Name a mortgage company. And I go, so why didn't
loanDepot.
Why wasn't the first thing out of your mouth? And I go, so if I went to your entire why wasn't the first thing out of your mouth around you, the people you hang out with? And so everyone at your church, I don't care, your basketball league. If I went to your community, I said, name a mortgage company. Are they going to say everyone at your church? I don't care, your basketball league. Or are they going to say? I said, name a mortgage company. Are they going to say Josh Pitts, Alec Hanson, or are they going to say Brand? That's a purest example. And loan officers sit there and go, "Oh, that's a purest example." They're not going to say me. Loan officers sit there and go, "Oh." Then they start realizing what the new game is. They're not going to say me. Then they start realizing what the new game is.
Dude, that I couldn't have ever given a better example. Like that is literally what brand is. Like we could end the podcast right here and just like one little snip, guys. Like just listen. You need to go listen to that over and over and over because go ask your friends. Like and even most of your friends. That's a funny example. Like because go ask your friends, your golf buddies, your the women you hang out with, whoever you're hanging out with in your community. Just ask them, hey, what's the number one mortgage company you think of? And if you're not the first thing, like if they even hesitate and they don't say, well, of course you like. You've got work to do. It's time to step out and build your brand.
You're losing. You're behind.
Well, let's kind of build on that just for a second because I mean you mentioned Quickens, you mentioned some of these other ones. Sure. Depot does a great job.
Absolutely.
Like, there are bigger companies. There are companies that have a much larger spend than individual people. Like
you can't compete. You can't compete. I'm doing this presentation for a group of mortgage professionals, and one of the slides is the budgets of Zillow and Quicken as two examples. Just the marketing budget. You can never play at that level as an individual. Ever. Not even close. You can't even breathe. By the way, they're spending billions. And my favorite analogy is, do you know how many seconds a million seconds are in terms of time? Like if you add up a million seconds, how much time it is?
I have no idea.
So it's like 12 days.
Okay, cool.
Okay. What about a billion?
Oh, years, I would guess.
32 years.
Oh man, dude, that's
12
crazy.
days compared to 32 years. And you're going to go compete with that? You're going to step to the stage on that? You have no chance.
No chance.
And so thank God that you have social media and YouTube and the internet. Thank God. Otherwise, it's over. It's over. Otherwise, it would have been over a long time ago.
And that's the only chance. Like it starts to begin to give you a chance. Like even then you got a lot of work. And this is something that you and I talk about is building a brand is something it's not easy. We're not saying like it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Now, can you do it? Absolutely. It takes a little bit of hard work, takes a little bit of focus, some consistency, but it can be done. You and I are great examples of that. Look what you and I have done. We were just two guys in the mortgage industry, and now I like to say, like, both of us are, not to humbly, like, I don't want to sound like an asshole or like arrogant and all, but we're pretty well known in the industry. Like both you and I, our brands are, people know, like they recognize the name. Oh, Josh Pitts of Shred Media, Alec Hanson over at loanDepot. Like people recognize our brands. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about this a little bit. Why is branding, like, why do you think branding as an executive or somebody, a regional manager, somebody who's over an area manager? Sometimes I hear people like, no, I just need to work on my team. I don't need to worry about building a brand. I just need to focus on my team, help them. But what are your thoughts? Why is it important for executives or people in management roles to do it?
Well, you have to get down to what their job is. So let's just carve it out, right? So a loan officer's job is to create influence to get opportunity to get leads.
Right.
That's the job. If you go up a branch manager or a regional manager or divisional manager, a lot of the job is to grow your organization. Let's just carve that as a responsibility. Not everyone. It's not all I do every day, but a responsibility. So if no one knows who I am, if no one knows what our strategy is, if no one knows what I think or how I lead or what's happening at the company, then what chance do I have of them ever considering working here? I'm letting hopefully some other passive. You're screwed. No, like you're invisible.
100%.
So number one, if one of your job is to grow your organization, then you need to be on the stage and showcase what it's like to work there. What are the people like? What's the culture like? You know, I like my homie Brian Covey. He just crushes in just showing what it would be like to be around him all the time and work in his sphere. So I'm like, that's an example. The second thing though is leaders got to put themselves out like they expect anyone else to do. And so yep. I hate hypocritical leaders who are like, do as I say, not as I do. I'm like, stop it.
Yep.
And so one of the things that I really believe for my loan officers is they have to have big, powerful brands in their community and online.
100%.
And so I go, well, then I'm going to be in the freaking dirt with you figuring this out. I'm going to jump in and play right alongside you. I'm going to deal with my own insecurities on video. I'm going to figure out technology. I'm going to play with mics and I'm going to figure it out so that I can sit there and be like, I'm doing this with you. I'm not just sitting here telling you what to do like some manager. I mean, those are the biggest two I could think of that are non-negotiable.
Is that why you think you started doing the 100 videos in 100 days? Is that why? Is that one of the reasons? You're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to put myself out there.
Yep. 1,000%.
What was the response? Like, what was the response? Like, did you get some pushback? Did some people like, really, Alec, you're gonna dedicate all that time?
No, you get nothing. There's no real haters don't exist. I mean, really, they just, unless you get to like, stardom level, then yeah, you get people. But like in all the content, I mean, Josh, I'd love for your personal experience on this, but in all the content I put out, like I've had like 2 people I can name that kind of sent me a note or only one comment where someone was really like, told me I was a bag of, dirt.
Really?
Like one. And then I had one person send me a DM just expressing that they hated me and loanDepot and wanted me to die. And so,
wow.
but that's it. In 2 years effectively of putting out content on a regimented basis, like there's no haters. So you're not going to get that kind of feedback from those people. I'll tell you who the real hater is when actually you start to develop brand, and the real truth of this is it's not going to be the random person that's going to come in and start trolling you. It's going to be your spouse or a friend or someone goes, what are you doing on Facebook? Like, that's not you. Why are you making these videos? That's not you. And it's going to be the dagger from a loved one that's going to be the real pain. And I've seen it happen over and over again. And the only way I've coached through it to people is expressed that no one gave me crap when I got in my car every Thursday and every Friday and every Saturday and every Sunday and went out and met realtors.
Yep.
No one was like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. My spouse, my friends, they were all supportive. I'm like, hey, I can't hang out till later. I can't go to the beach. I got to hit open houses.
Of course.
So when I turn around and go to that person who's saying, this isn't you, what are you doing? And I go, hold on. I'm prospecting. I'm building relationships. I'm growing my brands that people don't call Quicken. They call me for a mortgage.
Yep.
And so I really need to enlist your support in this because I'm uncomfortable doing video in the first place. And now you just told me that it's not me. And now I'm just crippled in the corner. So, I mean, Josh, do you get hate? Have you gotten any people that have jumped on your stuff and just tore you down?
Yeah, honestly, I have. I've had, especially as my brand has grown, I've got those haters. But same thing is I probably have, I don't know, as of late, I've seen a lot more. Here's the thing, and you, depending on what channels you're on, I think IG is probably the worst. IG is one of those where you get a lot of, just because there's a lot of, here's the thing though, too. I find it's people outside of our industry. They see what I do. Yes. They're like, who the hell? Like, what? Your content's garbage. You're like, this is trash. Who gives a crap about mortgages? Blah, blah, blah. Like, who wants to see content about that? It's not something I see on a regular basis. And I 100% agree with you. The biggest critics, and I hate calling them haters because they're the people I love. It's the people around me. Like, it's those people around me that are like, dude, you only got 50 likes. You only got 20 likes on that video. Like I had a really, this one was a very, very close friend. He said, dude, you've been doing content for years and some of your videos only get, 20, 30 views. Like, are you okay with that? And I'm like, Yes, I am. I'm totally okay with that, because what if what if those 20 people that saw it, what if one of them, what if it had changed their life? What if it impacted their life? Like that's why I do it. It's for that one. Like, it's not to get tens of thousands. Do some of mine get views? And so does your, like, go watch it again.
Bro,
and
this
speaking
is such
of this, go ahead.
I want you to finish your thought.
If you don't follow Alec on his social channel, you should. Go follow. Hopefully you follow us, but go follow him, because he's somebody who gets tens of thousands of views. You get your videos, like, it's amazing.
No, dude, it's this. The people that view this have such a small view of the world. The people that say that kind of crap.
Yep.
You have to go back and understand what you're doing. So I'm a dumb mortgage guy that ran around in the streets and talked to realtors. Okay, so that's my frame. That's my reference. So when I talk to loan officers that are traditional retail people or local pros, they get this.
Yeah.
Tell me the time you walked into a real estate office for the first time, and the top agent was there, and the top agent said, "Thank God, Josh, you just walked in. I've been wait. Please come sit down. I have 5 pre-quals I need to give to you." And they go, "Oh, that never happens." Of course it never happens. In fact, the first time you walked in to meet that realtor, they probably put the newspaper up so they didn't have to look at your face.
Literally.
And ignored you.
Yep.
So you got 20 views on a video. Don't you understand what's happening? This is the most ironic statement I'm going to say. It's the two sides of the coin. The first side of the coin is you need to put out content all the time, regular basis, every single day. The second side is nobody cares and nobody's going to watch it. And so people go like, "What did you just say?" And I said, "Guys, they're scrolling through the feed."
Yep.
They saw Josh Pitts today, and you know what they saw? And they saw Josh Pitts the next day. They're not carving every second of their life to be like, "Holy crap, Josh or Alec are live right now." What they're doing is they're getting an impression. You're delivering an impression, like, holy crap. That's one of my biggest things I can say about you, Josh, is you are so consistently present. You're so consistent that I can't go a day without opening social media and seeing Shred. I can't go a day without your brand being in my presence, influencing me. Now, does that mean I sat and watched all 30 minutes of it? No, God, no. I got life. I'm busy. No, dude. When we go live, like, people come in and out of the stream. They pop in, they pop out. You have to understand, they're so focused. They have life happening.
Yep.
So you gotta understand the long game. You're not gonna go viral. That stuff's not real.
No. Dude, that's such an interesting perspective, and I 100% agree with you. And it's funny because I've had people say the same thing, like, "You post too much. I see you all the time." And I'm like, "Well, I'm doing my job then." That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal news. If you're seeing me, like, that's exactly, if you're seeing Shred, if you're seeing Josh, that means I'm putting enough content out there. And then I have people on the flip side, they're like, "Oh, I never see your content." Well, I guess I'm not putting enough content out because I'm going to ramp up my game. Like, keep it up. Gary talks about having 100 pieces of content a day. I can't imagine doing something like that. That's ridiculous.
Not without support.
No, well, and even then, like, you have to be putting out valuable content. You and I both, that's a focus of ours. We don't just put out content to put out content. We put out valuable content that's going to, like, that makes you think, that makes you become better. It makes you like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go step up my game as well. So speaking, I want to kind of talk about this a little bit more. You've seen a ton of success. Like, again, you are truly, when I'm traveling the country, you're one of those people I constantly reference, saying, "Hey, you want to see a good example of somebody who's in an executive role, who's in management, who does a really good job on, like, social media platforms, who puts out really valuable content? Go check out Alec Hanson over at loanDepot." But what are some of the successes you've seen, and then what are some of the struggles? What are some of the things that are really, we kind of talked about haters, but what are some of the struggles you've had along this journey of yours?
I don't know if there's struggles more than learning curves, right? Because I think a lot of people, they don't know their voice yet. So when I look back at some of my original content, and I'm like, I'm proud of it for being out, for being in the pool and playing the game. But I'm not like, was the message that good? But I think that it takes time to find your voice in the space. It takes time to decide, do I want to be I got a great example with Sean Yahara, who works for us in Vegas. He was really out there with podcasting and content and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, and then he found his voice in YouTube. And so he started to really dive in on YouTube. Now he shares tons of content still. He's still very out there, but a lot of his core focus in the creation is on showcasing the communities in Vegas. And he'll drive to the communities as a mortgage guy. This is great because this is such a realtor gig. He drives the communities. He brings his production assistant, who's a videographer. This is the first loan officer ever hired who walked in with a PA, because everyone has their production assistant. And he had a camera on. And I go, "Is this a PA?" He goes, "No, I just had to call him that because I can't hire a videographer."
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
he introduces, he goes to this community, whether new builds or old builds, and he goes to the restaurants, he films the lakes, he shows what's going on, and he gets so much business now from YouTube.
Wow.
But it took him probably 2.5 years, 3 years to find his voice, to find his angle. So similarly with me, it's I think the you don't know where it's going to go yet. You just have to be willing to be a student of your own experience and be paying attention. And then you'll find the stuff that lights you up, and you'll find your voice in the space. Because I see a lot of mortgage professionals that are out there making content, and this is a distinguishing thing, Josh, that we need to unpack, which is content versus brand. Because people think I just make a lot of content, and they have no brand direction.
Yeah,
like I call it staying in your lane. Like they're everywhere, and I'm like, well, what's your purpose of this?
Right.
And they can't answer it except that Gary Vee told me to be on a video every day. Dude. So, I mean, you've seen this. People that just put out content for content's sake versus having a purpose and an angle and a lane. Share your experience on that.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree. It's funny because so many people ask me, well, Josh, what should I be creating content around? What should I be creating content around? It's not just this. I'm so glad you bring this up, Alec, because this is probably one of those points where a lot of you listening, hopefully everybody listening today, you can start thinking about this. Because what's the last piece of content you put out? What was it directed at? Was it specifically focused on building your brand? Did it make the people around your audience, did it make them say, yep, Alec Hanson is my trusted voice in mortgage or real estate? Yep. Did it help you achieve what your goal is, which is building your brand? Like, if you're not putting out content to achieve that, you're just putting out dude, I've heard the exact same thing. This is really funny. 2 days ago, this is absolute true story. 2 days ago, because it's Monday. On Monday, I had an old friend. I used to coach him. I worked with him. He worked for our brokerage for a little while. He messaged me and said, Josh, I keep seeing you all over the social media. Like, I need to start creating content. And I said, awesome. What do you plan on creating content? He's like, well, I don't know. I'm just going to start creating content like you do. And I'm like, you don't want to create content like I do, because my audience is you as a mortgage professional. My audience is not homeowners. Like, that's who your audience is. So you can't create content like me. That would not make sense for you. And I said, and plus I'm building my brand. Like the Josh Pitts brand, the Shred brand is about helping people do this, build their brand. That's what I do. That's what my brand is. You can't, yours isn't the same thing. You got to think about that. And he's like, oh, maybe it's just too much work. I'm like, oh man, like you're like, what are your thoughts on, like, you can't just create content?
Bro, this is I have a great example, and this is going to trigger somebody. So I have to apologize because I don't know who it's going to trigger, but I'm going to get somebody yelling at me.
I can't wait for the
There's
comments.
a lot of loan officers whose content strategy is all about hustle porn. And it's all about the grind and the entrepreneurial nature. And I'm like, bro, you get a W-2. You're not an entrepreneur. Just stop. You get a W-2, bro. You are not. I'm sorry. Look, I understand in mortgage, there are entrepreneurial parts to it. I love those too. I love those. But if you get a W-2, bro,
you're not an entrepreneur.
No,
not an entrepreneur.
But their content is all this hustle stuff, and they're interviewing entrepreneurs or whatever. And I'm like, what's your point here? I know you're identifying as this, and so you're personally enjoying it. I can tell you're personally enjoying it. But
sure,
what's your end game in all this hustle porn and all of these entrepreneurs that you're interviewing? Are you getting business? Are you getting any loans? And they're like,
right.
Well, that you got to know what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
With your message and with your content strategy.
Dude, and there are so many originators who they've heard guys like you and me talking about building a brand, creating content, just doing more video, whatever it is. And they just think they just need to create content, but they don't have what you just spoke about. You have to, everybody, if you're thinking about it, if you're kind of at that milestone, like I talked about in the very beginning, where like, hey, I want to start this track, before you do what Alex just talked about, you have to really understand and know what you're going to be. Who are you targeting? Yep. What is that message? How are you adding value to their life? How are you connecting with them? How are you building? Like I said, think about it this way. How are you creating that relationship? What are they saying about you? What is that relationship you have with them outside of content? And if you can answer that question, then you're like, okay, I know what I'm going to talk about. I know how I'm going to create value in these people's lives. If not, you're going to join the rat race of people you're just going to create noise. Like 90%, 95% of social media is just bullshit noise.
Yeah. Yep.
So
you talk about struggles. I think the struggles are finding your voice, but being willing to play the game enough and then turning back around and going, am I going the right way? Getting feedback from people being like, what did you experience from this stuff? You know, and they're like, I don't even watch it. It's garbage. I go, oh, okay. But like you have to be able to push through that to come out the other side. And so that's the struggle that I think everyone has when they create content. It's finding your voice in your lane.
So legit question. Have you experienced burnout? Are you ever
oh yeah, dude, I get burnt. Dude, you're in mortgage, you got to get burned out like once a year. Like it's like burnout's all, but that's part of the game. So I was talking to a buddy and he's like, there's all these problems and I never feel like I fix them. And I go, no, what you're feeling is there's always problems and then you fix it and then you have the next one.
That's true.
It's not that we're not solving the same problems. We fixed those. Look back in time. We did all that. But I still have problems. Yes. And then we die. Like that's how life, I don't know how else to tell you. Like it's just work. It's hard work. So yes, dude, burnout all the time. And you have to reframe and you have to take vacations and you need personal time. But you have to, this comes back to, again, dumb Alec, 23, building relationships with realtors. If I don't go see that realtor, if I don't go see that agent and I let months go by, all the relationship work that I've been working on is gone.
Yeah.
If I'm not there all the time, then somebody else is. If I'm not there building relationships, then somebody else is. How many times as mortgage professionals did we take a referral partner from somebody else because that loan officer had stopped showing up for that agent?
Exactly.
So it's a non-negotiable. And some people understand this and they carve it out. And some people don't, and they let their life pull them apart, and then they don't stay consistent, and they don't ever reach the levels of success they're capable of.
So let's build on that, because then I think you've kind of, what you just said there almost answers it. But what keeps you going? Like, why do you keep creating the content? Like, what experiencing that burnout? Why do you keep doing what you're doing now? Why do you keep creating the content?
Because I had this aha moment that I know you've had, and that anyone who's listening is probably hopefully having, which is the future of your level of success you're going to reach is directly correlated and connected to the amount of brand influence community that you're able to create and impact. Absolutely. In an authentic way, not in a way of selling somebody an ebook, but in a real way. And when you understand that and you're willing to be competitive and put the work in, then it's a building block, because the video number 1 doesn't matter. Video number 100 doesn't matter. It's like, I love Gary Vee did that one promo clip of himself where he was talking about becoming lucky or an overnight success. Did you see that one?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yep.
And the whole time he's talking about it being an overnight success, it has all his videos coming from Wine Library. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you're just like, but that's the drive. That's the real work, the unspoken work, the not sexy work. And that's the stuff that makes champions. And so Josh, the same question, man, like what keeps you creating content? How do you deal with burnout?
I deal with the same way. So there are some days where I just have to check out mentally. It's just like, okay. And whether it's hanging out with family, going and losing some golf balls on a golf course, gaming's a big like, it's one of those things.
By the way, I'm a huge gamer too, dude. I've seen some of your stuff.
Dude,
but I play MOBAs and old school World of Warcraft. So I'm not first person shooter. You'd snipe me in 10 seconds and I would quit. He's out. Now, if we brought GoldenEye out from 64, I'm a problem.
Bro,
I'm a big problem.
It's going to go down. We're going to find a way to play GoldenEye, and you and I are going to have a GoldenEye battle. It's going down. We're going to find a way to make that happen. So, I take a step back for sure, but like you, I understand that it's not for me, when I wake up, it's the next piece of content I'm creating. I start thinking, I'm not the most creative person in the world, but because of my ADD and because I'm always looking for like something else, something new, I'm like, what if I tried this? And my team, like the reason we're doing this podcast right now is we've been doing our daily show for so long now, and we've kind of started to stagnate a little bit. Like, hey, I'll be honest, I'm calling it as it is. My team said, let's change it up a little bit. Taking a page out of Gary's book, he said, let's try something. Let's focus on something else. Mm-hmm. Let's focus on building a brand. What does that actually mean? We hear about brand so much. We hear about brand versus branding. What is an actual brand? So let's go in a different direction. That's what keeps me going, is just finding that something new this excites me, doing this with people, having these conversations. There's truly, when I saw this on my calendar, I'm like, hell yeah. This is what motivates me in the day, is like, I got to go chill with Alec for a little while. Like I got to have a cool conversation. We're going to say some cool shit that will or will not impact some people. There are some people who hear.
That's the other thing. That's the other truth that you said earlier on the 20 view video. You get 20 views. you have no idea the impact this is having. You have no idea. I'm saying this to anybody that out there doubting themselves. You have no clue. And all of a sudden, after a consistent time period where you put the work in, when you show up outside and somebody goes, Josh, and you go, I don't know you. And they go, yeah, I shred, oh my gosh. And you're like, you start realizing that you've made impact. It's just not as visible. And that's why people quit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're not getting instant gratification. So I can't do it anymore. And but you are, man, you're making such deep impact. And as soon as you wake up to realize that it's really happening, even with the video that got no views.
Exactly.
Because that video got views later, you just don't know. You're not, it's crazy.
Dude, that's why I love YouTube. That's why I love these, especially YouTube in particular, because things can become evergreen down the road. Too, like you said, you mentioned an example of guys who've been putting out, years of content. I've had on YouTube, we've had videos that 6, 8, 9 months ago, all of a sudden they're getting views again. They're getting comments, and it's like, what the, like, it's just because maybe at that point somebody caught that video and just it made an impact in their lives. So creating content, it may not hit today, it may not hit tomorrow, but as you're creating it, as it's impactful, as valuable content, you never know when it's going to hit. You never know when it's going to change. Sometimes people just need to be ready for it. It's the adage that we always talk about. The teacher or the master appears when the student is ready, or whatever, however you say that. I don't know, something like that along those lines. But that's the concept. Like when we're ready to hear it, then we're going to start doing it. Then we're like, yep, I'm ready. I'm ready to start going. It's going to hit. I guarantee somebody's going to comment on this one, Alec, and be like, oh yeah, what I heard Alec and Josh talking about today, I was finally ready for it. I've heard so many times and time again, but today was the day that it finally made an impact on me.
Well, this was freeing for me. And so maybe somebody who's listening to this can be freeing for them. When you want to get caught up on vanity metrics, when you want to get caught up on likes, when you want to be like, no one's watching this and I have no views, you have to, this quote for me centered me and gave me freedom to continue to do it without negative self-talk. And the quote was, at best, you are an extra in the movie of somebody else's life.
Oh, dang.
At best. And so, maybe for my wife, I get best supporting cast or something. But like everyone, they're living their own life. They are the action hero of their own life. And so the arrogance to think that somehow you're the hero in their movie, you're an extra that walks by. So at best we can hope to be, the Obi-Wan Kenobis or the Gandalfs.
It's so true, man.
But we're not. And so don't stop holding on to vanity metrics and thinking somehow that's going to be the thing that gives you validation.
Dude, on the flip side of that, I would say be the hero of your own movie. Like,
yeah, dude, have some fun. Let go.
That's exactly what I mean. Is like, if you're the extra, like sometimes you can be that extra part that's just like, hey, I gotta have fun. Like I'm not the leading role. I just gotta have a damn good time with what I'm doing. Like, and maybe I'll get thrown in. Maybe I get some screen time, but have fun with it. Enjoy, because if you're not enjoying it, like you're not lead role anyway.
Well, that's one of the things too, Josh, like I love about your brand and experiences. I know that when I scroll by and I pop in for a few minutes, I'm gonna get some energy from you. I know that when I come by, I'm gonna get some positivity and some energy from Josh. And that is valuable to me. That elevates you in my mind and who you are as a person and what I enjoy about you. And so, even if you're just putting a video out and you're spreading love and positivity and a customer sees that and they go, well, at least I know Josh is a good, trustworthy, fun person. And next time the mortgage thing comes up, they go, I should ask him a question.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It really is crazy. It's amazing. But that's the brand, talking about the brand. That's what I get that quite often. Like, oh yeah, he's the energetic guy. He's the guy who is, I see something like that. And it's like, yes, like I got a little boost of adrenaline. They got their rock star shot. They're ready to go. The move forward. Speaking of, this episode is sponsored. No way, no freaking way. That was not planned. There's no freaking way, dude. Man, Rockstar fuels your energy. That's even a recovery one, dude. Like we're both hitting down the recovery. That's
like I'm 40 now. I can't. Everything falls apart at 40.
Literally makes this episode, and we can end it right here. Rockstar will be picking up and sponsoring this going forward. What things do you wish you knew that when you started this whole journey of creating content, of putting yourself out there? What's something you wish you knew now? What's something you've learned that you wish you could have implemented then?
Well, I mean, I'll frame this up as my best piece of advice for somebody that might be looking to start their content. Number one, don't take yourself so seriously. we do, and we're so insecure. I mean, I was coaching a bunch of branch managers this morning, and I'm like, why aren't you out on social media? And you could I just could feel the fear and the insecurity that we all have. Like I recognize it in them because I have it in me. And so it was, if we just realize that we don't have to take ourselves so seriously and we could just be ourselves, all the doors start opening up. So I think I don't feel like I took myself super seriously in the beginning of creating content, but my message is for most people, I feel like they hold on to something so tight, and you just need to let go and just have fun and be you, and be open to finding your voice in the process. Don't be so closed-minded that you're like, I'm going to make the podcast, it's going to be on this. So maybe. That's why I love the concept of seasons. Like well, maybe for this season, do it. And then after whatever that season means, a month, 5 months, a year, look back and go, is it doing what I want it to do? Am I happy? Am I feeling burned out? Do I need to switch it up?
And it's okay to switch it up.
Oh, that's a great topic, Josh.
Dude, I'm so glad that you're, like I've said, that's why we're doing this podcast. Brand+Shred is we're switching it up a little bit. We're changing it up a little bit. You can see that, yes, I have my excitement, I have my enthusiasm, but like the voice of my energy on the show is a little bit more subdued. It's a little more brought down. It's a little more conversational. It's not just questioning and answering. Like, you got to change things up. Like, it's okay. Like, if you see that, hey, number one, if you're not enjoying it, I'm glad you mentioned that, Alec. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you should switch it up. Like, if you're experiencing that burnout on a regular basis, then yeah, definitely you got to change it up. If you wake up and like, oh shit, I got to go create content again. You're not creating. Like, you and I have fun with it. I enjoy. Yeah. There are days when I'm like, oh man, like really?
Well, yeah, you got to put an asterisk on this because some of it is equatable to going to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to eat healthy. And so if somebody heard Josh just now, you have to understand what he's really saying. He's not saying, hey, you don't feel like it, so don't do it. What he's saying is you have to push through sometimes too.
Yep.
Because it's like, I don't want to go meet realtors again. I hate this. I get rejected. They stare at me. I got to go see him again. Like, so you got to understand too that this is hard work too.
Yeah, it's a brilliant point, Alec.
It's hard work and it should be fun too. Like it shouldn't be terrible hell, but it also is going to be hard.
Man, I want to start wrapping things up on that because it is hard. Well, I don't want many of you. I don't want to end just thinking like, yeah, this is hard. This sucks. Good luck. You're on your own. But that's why you and I do it, is because we do persevere. We are consistent with it. Yeah, there are days where both of us, I'm sure you and I have created content in the past where it's like, man, I'm going to go do it because I know right now I'm showing up now. I'm willing to put in the work now because I know what the macro is. I'm not just thinking in the micro. So many people within our industry, they think so short term. Our mindset was just created that way. We're transactional. It's a 30-day, 60-day, 45-day, whatever it is. Like, that's how our minds think. That's it. Like, and that's how, because that's what our transactions, that's the mortgage process.
Yep.
You have to think so much more macro than that.
100%.
You have, because like you said, how many times have you walked into a realtor's office? And you're like, I really don't want to go here today, but I've got my donuts with me and which is the old way of thinking, but you have to be willing to put in the work now. I promise. Alec has seen it with the people that he's worked with, the people that we surround ourselves with. It will work. You'll start to create this brand. You'll start to create this loyalty. There will be a day where you walk into your local coffee shop and somebody's like, hey, you're Alec Hanson.
Oh, dude, it's already happened. I've been taking my son to breakfast at like a greasy diner on Sunday, and some guy was like, Alec. And I'm like, I don't know you. And he's like, oh no, I work for the so-and-so company down the street. And this is just in Costa Mesa. Like, right. And I was like, awesome, man. Nice to meet you. And now when he falls through my feed, I know him and we sync up. But like, this is so self-evident to me, Josh, and we can kind of wrap on this comment at the end here. It's so self-evident to me. If I ask anybody to name an insurance company and they go Allstate or Geico or whatever they lift out, I go, well, why did you say that company? And they said, well, I've seen all their content. I've seen all their commercials. And I go, so did you see one commercial? And they're like, oh no, I've seen so many of their commercials. And so I go, so consistency and repetition and something that was funny or relatable to you. All of them are funny now because that's it.
Oh,
they can't, you know. So clearly that created a brand impression on you. Why aren't you doing the same thing to create that same impression in the community around you, both physically and digitally, that you want to trust you for a loan?
That's it.
That's branding. That's what you've been preaching for years.
Yep. That is brand. That is your brand right there. When people say your name, when they're like, "Yep, Alec Hanson." When you ask them the question that you and I started with, like, if you ask your friends, your closest sphere, what's the first thing, or who is the first person they think of when they think of mortgage? If your name is not the first thing out their mouth, you've got some work to do. But you can. That's what I want all of you to know. You can do it. Like,
and it's free.
Yes. As a matter of fact, like that's a whole nother topic. This is free. If you start paying for it, you put yourself in a very bad spot, especially if many of you are probably using Facebook or Instagram. If you start promoting posts or trying to boost ads in the very beginning, you're really hurting yourself. And I really mean that. Like that is so far down the road. Don't start there. So moving on, I want to end with this. I'm a biggest fan of Pod Decks. They're not a sponsor of us. I just love these guys. Check them out. They do some really cool stuff. If you ever need an idea for a podcast or just fun topics to end on, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to throw some random questions. I'm going to draw some random cards out of our pods, and we're going to go with them. You ready? Okay, here we go. First question is, whoa, this is fun. What do you consider is the most important piece of furniture in your home?
Furniture.
Yeah. Yep. That was mine. I started blinking. I'm like, interesting.
It's got to be my desk. It's my whole like command station right here.
Nice. Are you at your house or are you at your office?
Yeah, it's my house.
Let's go, dude. There.
Yeah,
so I would agree. Do you have a stand-up desk? You have a stand-up desk?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. No, I'm standing up right now.
I say you're standing up, right? Because I know you move around. You're like me. Like you always have to be moving. It's so funny because during this podcast, all my team is like, Josh, I'm going to show. They're going to get so mad at me. I have one of these because I get really bad ADD. So I squeeze my thing. But then I have my poker chips too. I shuffle poker chips in my hand. I do a ton of shuffling, and like it's bad because people will hear me shuffling and they're like, "You hear that?" And I'm like, "Hear what?" It's me shuffling my poker chips. There you go. So there's our desk. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, next question. Oh, okay, which celebrity do you think is a positive role model for kids today? You have kids right now. You have kids.
I do. 10 and 7.
There, see here. I've got 9 and 7. You mean it right there. So who's a positive role model for your kids? A celebrity. That's hard, actually. That's hard for me. Celebrities.
I'm gonna say Chris Pratt.
Let's go. I love that one. Dal's in the chat. She's Chris Pratt. So when I was fat, this is no joke. I used to get a lot. People are like, you kind of look like Chris Pratt. Like I literally got this. Like literally, we were at a store, and I think Dal was with me or my wife was with. This is no joke. Guardians of the Galaxy had just come out.
Yep.
We walked in, and this guy's like, "Oh my gosh, it's Chris Pratt!" And my wife thought it was the funniest thing in the world. So I think Chris Pratt is awesome. You follow him on IG? Like, do you follow him? Mm-hmm. I say he's one of those guys. I would. That's a good one. The other one that I guess is Shaun White. I like Shaun White a lot. The snowboarder. I'm a big athlete guy. Like I think Shaun White. You know, he's a little bit of controversial on some things, but he's another example of hard work, just getting after it, making things happen. So I like Shaun White a lot when it comes to a good. I guess he's a celebrity. I don't know if he's an athlete, but I would take that as I don't know. So those are mine. That's it. That's all I've got, and I'm excited. Alec, I can't thank you enough for joining me on this on Brand+Shred. Guys, there's so many more episodes. We're going to do this every single week. And if you don't follow, like I said, right now, go to YouTube, follow Alec. He has an incredible channel there, Instagram, Facebook. Just follow him. This is what him and I do. Like we've shared, we want to continue to help inspire you. We want to help you with your brand. We want to help you reach that next level, wherever you're at, whether you're beginning, middle, there's never an end. Alec, you mentioned that there's no end to this. You just keep persevering, keep pushing on. So can't thank you enough for joining me today, for everything you've shared, your wisdom, your knowledge, your expertise, for your friendship, man. You're one of those guys that I can count on. I can message you and say, hey, bro, I need a day. I need your help. And you're always there. So I appreciate you.
Got you, bro.
Guys, with that, it's another episode of Brand+Shred. We appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for you guys. Go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See you guys. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining us on another episode of Brand+Shred. I hope you got as much value out of this episode as I did. And if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss a single weekly episode with the incredible guests that we're bringing you to help you build your personal brand. Click that subscribe button, share, and even leave a comment. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of Brand+Shred.